Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Degening with Johnny show. Today we're going to be talking about how the LooksRare platform overtook OpenSea in volume yesterday, how the CryptoSkulls project mooned after years of being dead, and how Twitter is starting to release NFT profile picture functionality where you're able to connect your wallet. Really excited to talk about these. Let's have a great show. Here we go. So the first thing I'd like to talk about here is LooksRare and their volume. And people are going to be comparing Looks and OpenSea a lot because they're coming out to be a competitor. So when we look here, based on what I found yesterday on Dune Analytics, at the time of this post, about midday, LooksRare had 130 million compared to OpenSea's 95 million. So at the time, this was really got a lot of engagement. This popped up on a lot of people's feeds, and this was definitely a topic to talk about. So the first thing when I posted this, I saw a lot of people saying, oh, this is based on wash trading. Now, if you don't know what wash trading is when you buy and sell the same item from yourself, basically to increase the volume. So the benefit to doing that on LooksRare is that if you're doing so, you're getting rewards for the volume that you're trading. But there's some information that we're gonna look at that supports that, and some information that we're gonna look at that is a little bit of a negative for this situation here, both on the platform and from a personal level. So one of the first things that we saw here when I asked about wash trading is basically everybody told me to look at Meebits. Just look at the activity there. And so what you can see here is the same Meebits being sold back and forth to different wallets to each other for very, very high percentages above the floor, 5,700, 5,500. So if you look at the Meebit numbers and you look at the wallets, you'll see that like this one here went from A716, moved around in between these transactions, ended up back at A716. So these wallets are getting rewards for trading on here. But this is definitely something to watch because the wash trading hugely accounted for the volume and is the primary reason, in my opinion, why it was higher than OpenSea yesterday. So when we look at this, we look at the wash trading, when we look at what kind of explanation there could be, both positive and negative, we see here Degening, who is an early investor in the seed round of LooksRare platform, came out with a thread. And so he wanted to discuss if this is good or bad. So what we see here is he's admitting that it's happening. Is it by design? Probably. Is it a bad thing? He doesn't think so. So there's multiple sides to this argument here, and we'll see a few of them. But this is a whole thread where Degening basically, and if you don't know, Degening is an apex collector. He's one of the people that buys something, and you could expect it to pretty much never sell. I think I've seen him. I'm not even sure. I think I've seen Degening sell one thing maybe. Ever. You would have to ask if Degening has ever put anything out there besides what I've seen, but for the most part, it's a lot of buy volume and very, very little sell volume. So there's rewards that puts out, and basically the TLDR on this is there's a 2% transaction fee. So even though there may be benefits to this person wash trading and getting the rewards and stuff, it's not necessarily a plus EV over time kind of thing, expected value. So what he says here is there's a cost to wash trade. Every wash trade donates 2% of the ETH in fees to look stakers. If you wash traded 1,000 ETH, you'd be down 20 ETH in fees. Note that by wash trading 1,000, you're actually creating 2,000 of volume since they're both the buyer and seller. So let's have a look at how many tokens someone with 2,000 ETH volume would have earned on day one. So breaks it down here for you. So you would definitely get profit for wash trading. So they said the cost would be 20, but you would still end up with 40K or so in profit. So day one was profitable for wash traders, but there are many uncertain variables that would make it unprofitable going forward. You don't know how many other wash traders will be after you, and it's hard to predict the price of looks at the end of the day. So I would definitely recommend reading through this whole thread. Maddie and Loopify here had some pretty good counterpoints to that. And I see the validity in both arguments from Degening's side and Maddie's side. And I think this is something that we need to pay attention to, keep eyes on, but not write off LooksRare because a few people may have been wash trading. And I'm hoping that they'll be proactive enough to be able to figure out how to limit that. But essentially, that's the story behind the OS and looks rare volume for yesterday. The next topic that I want to talk about is CryptoSkulls. So CryptoSkulls was a project that launched in 2019, and there was a big move on them yesterday. And so what we saw is there was a few people pushing these and pumping these, and some were putting out correct information, some were putting out misinformation. It's hard to tell what the intent was behind certain people's posts, but all I can say is that the reason why these started pumping, besides influential people tweeting about it, is that they were saying that this is the second 10K PFP ever released from May 2019, and CryptoPunks were being the first. So this is Leonidas NFT. He picked up 888 of them at an average price of 0.06, then started talking about them. But in this time, I believe he said that. So Medved was the one who researched these and brought them to him. He took a second look at the contract and confirmed there's historical significance. So Leonidas is the same person who actually created this definitive timeline of early NFTs on Ethereum, which is fantastic. I actually have seen this in the past, and I really appreciate the work put in to do this. But in doing so, he kind of countered his own alpha per se. So he said the second PFP for 10K projects ever down here. If you want to be specific about 10K PFP, you can definitely fit this into this timeline a lot better. But there were PFPs of 10K that came out before this, which we'll be able to see. So this is where CryptoSkulls were. But around here, with the time of CryptoPunks came out, we also have Mooncat Rescue, didn't have 10K. CryptoCats, CryptoKitties didn't have 10K. So I can understand the meaning behind, okay, this is the second 10K PFP project ever. And if you weren't familiar with some of the others that came in 2017 and 2018, there's some people who are more than willing to share that. So I believe, where is it? Right here. So my buddy Alan here has helped in terms of putting out some examples. So 2018, there was this project Crypto Crystals, 10K for these, came out in May of 2018. Now, I think that the explanation behind this not being a PFP, which those influencers would say, and I believe Leonidas did, is that these are full body and they're not the just headshot for a PFP. And I understand that reasoning. I get it. And then CryptoBots. This was in 2017. Full body, not the just the head of the character. So I get that. If we want to be very semantic and figure out ways to use the language to make it appear as if it was something more than it was, I think that's I think it's smart for them to do. I think it's smart to do, especially after you've already packed your bags with it. So that's just something to talk about. Not many people share the alpha, let everyone else go buy, and then go buy it themselves. Most people, they'll pack their bags, then share why. So I get it. I see no fault in that, in packing your bags and then saying why. But I just think that it was a little misleading in terms of the reasoning behind it. So Medved said appears to be second 10K PFP. That's a little bit different than saying it definitely is. So I would just say that that's a little bit troublesome in the way that it was portrayed. But reviving an old project, that happens all the time in this space. I just think you have to be as accurate as possible when you're talking about this stuff. Now, I don't know the intent behind it. Like I said, people pack their bags and then tweet about stuff and post the alpha afterwards all the time. I do it. Other people do it. The reason I do it is because I find something. I'm like, oh, I like this. Let me go buy it up. And then I want to share with someone else or share with Twitter, whatever it is that I found something. But if you post that information and the floor starts to rise and you couldn't even get your own entry, I understand. So I get why you would want to pack your bags before making some kind of announcement about the alpha. Completely understood. If you want to look, so this is Leonidas's explanation behind it. I think whenever you have to over explain and you're on the defensive that much, you've probably made some kind of mistake. But I like the explanation, basically saying that, I mean, I don't like the explanation. I say I'm comfortable with this explanation in that it appears he was very specific with the semantics and being very literal, so I get that. I just think that when you try to take those CryptoBox and crypto crystals that were there ahead of time, just because you decide you wouldn't use that as a PFP doesn't mean that other people didn't or wouldn't. So I would definitely say that this was misleading, it was subjective, and the way that it was put out, I just didn't like. So I didn't hop on with that, even if I could have made money. Now, the one thing about this that I didn't like that much is, and I love Gary V, but when we post about stuff like this, and he said, I'm hearing that this is the second PFP project ever after Punks, he says, who knows more? I would love to learn. I love that. I love the way that he's asking a question. I like the way that Medved said it appears to be. So I would say that it's one thing to put out and saying this is the case, but I like how Gary was basically asking questions about it. Now, people can say whatever the intent behind that was. People pack their bags and then post about it. It is what it is. That stuff happens. But I would just say that if we're going to pump something based on historical context or information, we should be very accurate about that. And I think Gary was more just like in line and seeing people talking about it and was like, okay, I get it. Second PFP in 2019. This is really cool, historical. Gary's a really historical kind of guy in his collecting style. So, I understand that. But this initial Leonidas post, picking up 888, saying it's the second ever, and then blowing it up, I think that's where I have the biggest problem with, besides the owner himself dumping on everybody. So when we look at CryptoSkulls and who is the artist and who created it, and a lot of information behind this is where things for me really get murky. So when we look at the volume here, we'll see all-time volume. We had the 10th, which is 5,200, almost 5,300 volume. The previous high of volume before that at any given time was in March of 2021 at 2 ETH volume. 2 ETH being the highest, and then 5,276 being the day that it pumped. So that's where I have a problem with, in terms of like, this thing was dead. Okay, this, it's a revival. I understand looking back at old projects, but in my opinion, like, there was barely any volume at all. This thing was dead, and I just think at that point, you look into it and you have to be as accurate as possible. And in this case, the accuracy of the claims of it being the second PFP, I think, are inaccurate. And the way that these were released during the pump was not something I was a fan of. So CryptoSkulls, the artist, has here. Let me show you something real quick. How you can monitor some things. So when we look at this NFT project, we can actually go in and check the contract. So check the contract address here. Then we can go to the token tracker. And what I'm looking for is I want to see holders. So when I go here and I look at the holders, I can see there's 10,000 skulls, 3,900, almost 4,000 holders. And the CryptoSkulls deployer, the creator, has 2,000 of these. Now, before these started pumping, he owned 2,800 of these, almost 30% of the entire supply. And since then, has been just listing into the pump all the way up, basically like a bonding curve. So this person, the creator, probably just minted all the rest of them himself when he realized that these weren't selling out initially. And then once they sold out, there's 10,000 total sold, and they own 30%, or now 20%. So they have dumped 10% of the supply into the pool from the creator while the pump is going on. So I didn't like that, and like how they kept raising the price, putting up sell walls, and still own 20% of the entire supply. So this whole episode to me was just something that is kind of showcasing some of the things that go on in NFTs, but also allowed me to dig into some things and show people what kind of fundamentals to look at that could get you excited, more so than someone tweeting out about a project. But the second thing I noticed here is Leonidas, the person who's been the main topic of our conversation here, started off with 888 and has since offloaded almost 300 of these NFTs into the pool. And now, make your money, sell, but the way that this was done was just not the way that I would go about things. So I'm glad for everybody who's made money in this. I'm sorry for the people who may get wrecked in this, but let's just be aware of things that are going on in the space and address them. Now, I'm not trying to pour shade on anybody. I think Leonidas could have went about this a much better way. I think the CryptoSkulls artist, I think, just could have been a little bit more transparent about what was going on and how he was, dumping his supply into the pool as people were pumping it. So that's the story behind that. Feel free to leave your comments below on what you think about it, but it's definitely a major topic of discussion right now. The last thing I would like to talk about is Twitter wallet verification. So here we see that Twitter wants you to connect your wallet, thanks to my buddy Roman posting this picture. I had seen this floating around, and at the time I thought it could be some kind of Photoshop because it's a pretty simple UI here. But when I scrolled down and saw that my man Justin Taylor from Twitter confirmed it and said he took it from an employee testing, it's not here yet, but confirmed, that got me excited. So this is going to be coming soon. We actually saw, if you look at my NFT Soapbox account, I have a video here of Twitter senior software engineer Meta Aflaq. Sorry if I said that incorrectly, but they put out a video here of what it would be like to actually have the Twitter verification. So I'll just play this real quick so you guys can see, and then hope you get as excited as I am.
Marking the backend. So after confirming, you will be able to download all your NFT from OpenSea, select one, and then you will have your NFT as your avatar with the
Ethereum, little ETH symbol as a verification.
Showing that this NFT has been minted on Ethereum blockchain. If you click on collectible as well, you can see the collection of NFT you have.
Check that out. So they're using Gmoney's ape. They're showing you how you can go into the collectible tab and pick from your NFTs, use it as your profile picture, and then you'll have that little verification ETH symbol. So this is something that's really exciting. We see them already starting to roll out some testing, and this is something that is really going to change the game for NFTs, profile pictures, and scammers. Scammers ain't going to be able to start saying they have apes when they don't, mutants when they don't, cool cats, doodles when they don't. So I'm really excited about this, and I hope you guys are too. Have a great day, everybody, and thanks for tuning in to Degening with Johnny.